Morning.
Hey, how are you? Good morning. Take this phone.
Hold it before you can read.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Glad you all showed up. I'd like to begin by briefly discussing Paul Ryan's betrayal of the Republican nominee for Ryan's own personal enrichment. Speaker Ryan's repeated betrayal of Donald Trump is an act of sabotage against our party, an act of sabotage against our Republican electorate who selected Mr. Trump as our nominee. Speaker Ryan's actions once again indicate that he never cared about his constituents that he's been elected to represent. Paul Ryan's only ambition is his own personal ambition. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. It's hard to disagree with the fact that Ryan's efforts to undermine the Republican nominee, who he pretends to have endorsed, is exactly the kind of two-faced, dishonest politics that represents what's wrong with Washington today. What Ryan is doing is unseemly and is selfish. Paul Ryan is only about one thing: Paul Ryan. But his act is wearing thin, his smirk has grown old, and his mask has been pulled off. Donald Trump has courageously taken on the entrenched special interests who've sought to suppress the working people of this country and have sought to deny him a living wage, deny them a livable wage. By contrast, Paul Ryan has fought every step of the way to empower those forces working to disenfranchise voters and working to leave our citizens powerless and unable to provide for themselves and their families. But we're here today to say that we will no longer accept rule by corporations, servitude, or special interests, and serfdom to entrenched advocates. August 9th is Wisconsin's Independence Day for all voters who can cast a ballot to put America and her citizens first. The eyes of the whole nation have turned to Wisconsin's 1st congressional district. This election is now front line between the American people and the corporate interests who want to rule over us. This race will decide whether our Congress belongs to a collection of special interests and global corporations interested only in themselves, or whether it will belong to the people and families who want to live in safety, security, and peace. Paul Ryan has betrayed the people of this country in every possible way and at every possibility and opportunity available to him. He has betrayed us on immigration. Ryan has pushed his radical refugee plan that drives down wages for American workers and endangers our safety. I've been honored to be joined in this campaign by moms who have lost their children to illegal alien violence. These mothers have said that their children are lying in cemeteries as a result of the policies Paul Ryan has pushed for his donors. Paul Ryan has betrayed us on trade, pushing policies that shutter Wisconsin factories and ship our jobs overseas. Paul Ryan has betrayed us on spending. Paul Ryan has betrayed us on the budget. He's betrayed us with his jailbreak crime agenda that he plans to bring up for vote immediately after this election. Paul Ryan is a soulless globalist, a man who is callous to the suffering of the American people, a man who ignores and even flees from grieving mothers who just want their speaker to listen, a man who has said it's a bad thing if wages rise for our workers, a man who pushed his spending bill last year, a plan to radically expand foreign worker programs and refugee resettlement, a man who supports unlimited Muslim immigration, a man who protects his family with a border wall around his mansion, but he refuses to build a border wall for the country, a man who sends his children to an exclusive private school while flooding our public school and draining resources for our children, a man who at every fork in the road, when he's had the power to choose between corporations and country, he chooses corporations, a man who, when given the chance to choose between global interests and American interests, he has chosen global interests. A man who, when given the opportunity to choose between open borders and secure communities, has chosen open borders every time, year after year, decade after decade. Paul Ryan is an extremist corporatist. He will never change. He will never stand up and fight to protect jobs, securities, and wages for Wisconsin voters. Ryan is loyal to one thing, the almighty dollar. He is never going to care about or represent you. I want everyone here to ask yourself one question. If you can't answer this question for yourself, then you have an obligation, a duty, to vote out Paul Ryan next week. When was the last time Paul Ryan fought as hard for you as he has fought for his corporate donors? Name the last time. You can't name that time because there's never been such a time. It has never, ever happened. But Paul Ryan's act wore thin a long time ago, and his mask has been pulled off. On August 9th, Wisconsin has a chance to tell the whole world that we are still independent, that we are ruled by no one, that we are not intimidated by special interests. We have the opportunity to show the entire nation that the working men and women of this country, the decent, patriotic, hardworking people of this district, have more power than any special interest, that our one vote counts as much as the one vote of Paul Ryan's wealthiest donor, and that we have the right to author our future. Let's be clear about what's at stake here. If Paul Ryan wins, TPP and the death of American sovereignty is at stake. If Paul Ryan wins, we are guaranteed nation-ending amnesty in 2017. If Paul Ryan wins, it will mean sanctuary cities and uncontrolled refugee admissions. A Paul Ryan win means crime goes up, wages go down, sovereignty vanishes, schools suffer, the life of this country is squeezed out of it. We lose our culture, our pride, our purpose, and become a nation ruled by corporations, faceless bureaucrats, and transnational special interests. Wisconsin workers will continue to watch as our factories are closed down, stripped bare, our jobs are sent overseas, thousands of miles away. We will watch as the workforce in other countries and foreign factories and foreign wages benefit while our American wages are driven down. American workers will be deprived of heart and home and hope. We will watch as the dreams and aspirations of everyday Americans become smaller and smaller, as the profits for special interests get bigger and bigger. We will live in a world in which, instead of succeeding as one people and one nation under one flag, we are torn apart and torn asunder by the policies of the House Speaker, who recognizes a person's worth according to their spot in a Rolodex, and not by the very fact of their membership as a citizen in our great nation. I am asking every last voting person in this state, in this district, be they Democrat, Republican, or Independent, who wants only for their children to grow up in peace, and who wants their husbands, sisters, brothers, wives, and children to be able to dream a better future, I am asking that you vote for me in the open primary August 9th. August 9th is Wisconsin's Independence Day. Now, I prepared a few simple questions that I'd like to hand off to the media. A few simple questions that I'd like you to ask Speaker Ryan. First question is, will Paul Ryan, I wrote these out for you, make it convenient. Will Paul Ryan disclose all his wealthy donors he's met with? Thanks, brother. Will Paul Ryan disclose all his wealthy donors he's met with who push for open borders? I'm going to give you time to write. Speaker Ryan has been asked 4 times to debate the expired authorization to use military force on the House floor. He's been asked by other congressmen. Why won't he bring it? Third question is, does he plan to meet with the victims of illegal alien crime? Will he issue a statement on their behalf like he did for the Khan family? That was a 2-banger. You got a 2 for 1 in that one. Number 4, why did he flee mothers? 5, why has he ignored them? Number 6, when was the last time Paul Ryan fought tooth and nail for something his donors opposed? Okay. Take 1 or 2 questions if you got anything.
You gave us 6. You got to take 6 for this, don't you?
No. I've got to be somewhere else and I'm actually late, so.
Paul, you mentioned it's an open primary on Tuesday. Are you calling on Democrats who don't like Paul Ryan to vote for you in the primary?
Every voting person in this district who wants a job and who wants security, I'm calling on them to vote for me in this election. Because Speaker Ryan represents all of us. He represents Republicans, he represents Democrats, he represents Libertarians, he represents everybody. And if he's not working on everybody's behalf, something's wrong. He can say he has Republican principles, but he's got corporatist principles. That's what Speaker Ryan has. So yes, thank you for that question.
I get the sense that you don't like Paul Ryan very much, but his approval rating in this district, according to latest polling, is quite high among Republicans, like in the 80s. What makes you think you have 80 prayers?
You are referring to a very old poll, sir. I am well within striking distance of Speaker Ryan, and he knows it. And that's why he's flooding this district with dishonest TV ads, lying to people in their own living rooms. How despicable. I am well within